Now we are going to label this. This is the covering of heart, which is called as pericardium. It is a double layered covering. हार्ट की प्रोटेक्टिव कवरिंग को हम पेरिकार्डियम कहते हैं. It is double layered. Okay, so if you want to remember the names of those double layers also, I can write over here. Outer one is called as parietal pericardium, and inner one is called as visceral pericardium. I'm repeating once again. The protective covering of heart is called as pericardium. It is a double layered. Outer one is called parietal and inner one is called as visceral. And between these two layers there also will be fluid present, which will act as a shock absorber. Now, as we know that our heart has 4 chambers, so the upper chamber is called as, this is our left atrium. Atrium can also be called as auricle. This is the spelling, auricle. And lower chamber will be called as ventricle. So this is our left ventricle. This is our left ventricle. Similarly, from this side, this is our right ventricle. And this one is our right atrium, or we can say auricle. Okay, now you must remember that ventricles are thicker than the upper chambers. So our heart has in total 4 chambers. Upper one are called as auricles, and the lower 2 are called as ventricles. Ventricles are bigger, as you can see in the diagram, as compared to the auricles. But among the 2 ventricles, the left ventricle is little bit thicker as compared to right ventricle. Both of them are thicker, but left ventricle is much more thicker as compared to right ventricle. Its wall is much more thicker. Now let's understand the circulation of blood. Then only we will be able to understand the different functions of the different parts of the heart. When the body uses oxygenated blood for the process of respiration, then with the help of oxygen our body will perform the process of respiration. So finally carbon dioxide will be produced. When in the blood carbon dioxide concentration will become higher, that blood is called as deoxygenated blood. So that deoxygenated blood will be brought to the heart through these 2 veins, largest veins of our body. One will bring the deoxygenated blood from the upper part of the body. That vein is called as superior vena cava. This is your superior vena cava. And this one will bring deoxygenated blood from the lower part of the body, so it is called as inferior vena cava. So both of these vena cavas will bring deoxygenated blood to the right upper chamber of the heart, which is called as right atrium. Right? So हमारे इस चैम्बर में deoxygenated blood आ गया. Now when the right atrium will get filled with deoxygenated blood, it will pump. That blood will start moving towards the lower chamber on the right side, and this lower chamber is known as right ventricle. So blood will flow to right ventricle and it will move through an opening. This there is a valve over here and that valve has three lips. That's why this valve over here, which is present between right atrium and right ventricle, that valve I'm going to label it over here. I'm going to label it over here by this color. This valve over, oh, 1 second. I'm going to label it over here. This valve over here is known as tricuspid valve. Please remember, the valve is that opening which allows only one directional movement. So the blood will start flowing from the right atrium and it will enter into this right ventricle. This blood is the deoxygenated blood. Once it will enter into the right ventricle will contract and it will go through this way. So this type of blood will enter into this part going through this direction. So you can follow my arrow steps. It will go into this direction. So this artery through which the blood will flow towards the lungs, this artery will get divided to form two branches over here. One will go towards the right lung. This one is the left one. It will go towards the left lung and this part will go towards the right lung. So the branch, the blood vessel which is carrying deoxygenated blood towards the lungs, this is an artery and this artery is called as pulmonary artery. Please remember, I have already written in my notes, all arteries carry oxygenated blood except pulmonary artery. It is carrying deoxygenated blood from heart to lungs. It is the only exception in arteries which is carrying deoxygenated blood from heart's right ventricle to lungs. And before going to the lungs, as we have a pair of lungs, that's why this pulmonary artery over here is bifurcating into two parts. One artery is going towards the one branch is going towards the left lung, another is going towards the right lung. What is the purpose of sending this blood towards the lung? Because we know that lung is actually our respiratory organ where the exchange of gases will occur. So once that blood will start flowing through the capillaries present in the walls of alveoli, that blood will become oxygenated by the process of diffusion and carbon dioxide will be thrown out into the lungs and from lungs to outside. And from outside there will be the flow of oxygen into the blood. So finally this blood which was going from heart to lung was deoxygenated. It will become now oxygenated. Now we have to start the cycle again from the lung. Now this blood which has become oxygenated, it will come and enter into your heart's left chamber, which is called as left atrium or left auricle. But from lung to heart, this blood will be brought by a blood vessel. Its name is pulmonary vein. All veins carry deoxygenated blood except pulmonary vein. That's why we have to write these exceptions. It is carrying oxygenated blood from lungs to heart. I hope you can follow my voice. Pulmonary vein, all veins carry deoxygenated blood except pulmonary vein. which is carrying oxygenated blood from lungs to heart. Now this pulmonary vein has four branches, but in the picture we are able to see only two because we are seeing the front face of the heart. So these two branches are basically pulmonary vein, which is bringing oxygenated blood into the heart's left upper chamber, which is called as left atrium. From left atrium, this blood will enter into the left lower chamber of the heart, which is called as left ventricle, and this blood is oxygenated blood. From left ventricle, when it will contract, this blood will move from left ventricle to through this blood vessel, and this blood vessel is the largest artery of your body, and the largest artery of your body is called as aorta. Okay, so this is the largest artery of your body, which is called as aorta. This aorta will carry oxygenated blood from the left ventricle of the heart and will pump it to whole body by dividing into multiple branches. So finally that oxygenated blood will reach again to the tissues, organs, and they will utilize that oxygenated blood. Then that blood will again become deoxygenated. Now the duty of bringing that deoxygenated blood will again be taken away by these vena cavas. Upper part deoxygenated blood will be brought by superior vena cava. Lower parts deoxygenated blood will be brought by inferior vena cava. Finally they will bring that blood, put that back again into right atrium. From right atrium that blood will go to right ventricle. From right ventricle it will go through this way, pulmonary artery, and one towards the left lung, another towards the right lung. So if we start the cycle from the lung, from lung, I will write over here, if we start the cycle from the lungs, this blood from lungs, when blood was, let us suppose here, over here there is heart, and over here let us suppose it is a body. Okay, so from lungs, oxygenated blood was brought by pulmonary vein. Pulmonary vein, it will carry oxygenated blood. When it will enter into the heart, heart will pump that oxygenated blood towards the body through a largest blood vessel, largest artery called as aorta. It is an oxygenated blood. Now we are able to see the cycle. How does this blood move through the body? Okay, so oxygenated blood was brought from lungs by pulmonary vein, dropped into the heart's upper chamber, then it will go to lower chamber. From lower chamber it will go through aorta to the body. Got my point? From the body, this blood will become deoxygenated. It will be brought back to the heart by the vena cavas. So the vena cava, they are two, superior and inferior. It will bring deoxygenated blood. Deoxygenated blood. From upper, superior will bring from the upper part, the parts of the body above the heart, and inferior will bring from the parts of the body below the heart. So finally both of the vena cavas will bring deoxygenated blood and put it back to the heart. From heart to the lungs, it will be supplied to the lungs from the heart by pulmonary artery. So our cycle is complete. As we started the cycle from the lungs, then to the heart, from heart to the body, from body back to heart, and then back to lungs. So if we start the cycle from lungs, while coming back to the lungs, in a single cycle, blood is entering into heart twice. So first I will write over here, pulmonary artery is carrying deoxygenated blood. Okay, so understand this process very carefully. If we start the cycle from lungs it's going to heart, from heart to body, then body back to heart, and then back to lungs. So cycle if started from lungs, while coming back from the body towards the lungs, it is entering again into the heart. So in a single cycle, blood is entering into heart twice. This phenomena is known as double circulation. You got my point? I will write over here: in a single cycle, blood is entering into heart twice. एक पूरे चक्कर में ब्लड दो बार हार्ट के अंदर एंटर कर रहा है. ओके, इन अ सिंगल साइकिल ब्लड इज एंटरिंग इनटू हार्ट ट्वाइस. दिस phenomena is known as double circulation. इसी फिनोमिना को कहते हैं डबल सर्कुलेशन. और ये डबल सर्कुलेशन ह्यूमंस में, एनिमल्स में क्या करता है? ऑक्सीजनेटेड ब्लड को अलग रखता है, डीऑक्सीजनेटेड ब्लड को अलग रखता है. यू गॉट माई पॉइंट? और एक और चीज़ जो यहाँ पे मैं बताना भूल गया, वो पॉइंट क्या था? वो ये कि आपके वेंट्रिकल्स, ये एक वेंट्रिकल है, ये दूसरा वेंट्रिकल है, इनके बीच में आप ये दीवार देख रहे हो ना, ये वॉल, दो वेंट्रिकल वॉल का नाम है इंटरवेंट्रिक्यूलर सेप्टम. यू गॉट माई पॉइंट? इंटरवेंट्रिक्यूलर, क्योंकि दो वेंट्रिकल्स के बीच में है. तो आप क्या मैं कह सकता हूँ आपके हार्ट के दो साइड्स है. वन इज योर राइट पार्ट, अनदर इज योर लेफ्ट पार्ट. लेफ्ट पार्ट इज डीलिंग विथ ऑक्सीजनेटेड ब्लड and the right part is dealing with deoxygenated blood. Okay, so finally this completes the structure of the heart. And one more thing we need to mention over here, that in a single cycle blood is entering into heart twice. This phenomena is called as double circulation. This phenomena is called as double circulation. Okay, so in a single cycle blood is entering into heart twice. This phenomena is called as double circulation. अगर हम इस डबल सर्कुलेशन को देखें, इस डबल सर्कुलेशन में एक साइकिल जो ऊपर की तरफ है, जैसे कि लंग्स टू हार्ट एंड हार्ट टू लंग, दिस पार्ट ऑफ द डबल सर्कुलेशन इज कॉल्ड एज pulmonary circulation. I am repeating again. In a double circulation, the upper part, lung to heart and heart to lung, this part is called as pulmonary circulation. And heart to body and body to heart, this part is called as systemic. SYSTEMIC, systemic, not systematic, systemic circulation. ओके, तो आपके डबल सर्कुलेशन में दो सर्कुलेशंस आती है, एक पल्मनरी, लंग टू हार्ट एंड हार्ट टू लंग, एंड दूसरा वाला है सिस्टमिक, हार्ट टू बॉडी एंड बॉडी टू हार्ट. और आखिरी चीज़ मैं बता दूं, सो आफ्टर दैट आई विल कंक्लूड माई लेक्चर. योर हार्ट, when your right atrium was receiving deoxygenated blood brought by vena cavas, at the same time your left atrium was receiving oxygenated blood brought by pulmonary vein. I hope you got my point. So both of your upper chambers are receiving the blood. One is receiving deoxygenated blood by vena cavas, another is receiving oxygenated blood brought by pulmonary vein. So both of the heart's upper chambers are called as blood receiving chambers. Blood receiving chambers. Okay, Now both of these chambers will pump together, and the from right atrium blood will enter into right ventricle, and from left atrium blood will enter into left ventricle. Now both of the ventricles are receiving the blood, and now ventricles will pump the blood. Both of the ventricles will pump simultaneously. When the ventricles will contract, when the ventricles will pump the blood, at that time the atrium will be in the relaxing position. Okay, so at that time when the left ventricle pumps blood, it will move through aorta and reach to different parts of the body, because that blood has to reach towards the body, and that blood has to cover a large distance. That's why left ventricle's wall is much thicker as compared to right ventricle's wall. Why? Because right ventricle, when pumps the blood, that blood has to just go to the lungs. ओके, तो राइट वेंट्रिकल से जो ब्लड पंप होता है उसको सिर्फ लंग्स तक जाना है, और लंग्स उतना दूर नहीं है उससे, इसीलिए राइट वेंट्रिकल का वॉल उतना ज़्यादा मोटा नहीं होता जितना कि लेफ्ट वेंट्रिकल होता है, क्योंकि लेफ्ट वेंट्रिकल को ज़्यादा प्रेशर जनरेट करना है, क्योंकि उस डिस्टेंस को, उस ब्लड को ज़्यादा डिस्टेंस ट्रैवल करनी है एज कंपेयर टू द ब्लड पंप्ड बाय द राइट वेंट्रिकल, क्योंकि लेफ्ट वेंट्रिकल से किए गए हुए ब्लड को, पंप किए गए हुए ब्लड को बॉडी के हर एक ऑर्गन तक पहुंचना है, उसको बहुत डिस्टेंस ट्रैवल करनी है। इसीलिए जिस चैम्बर का हार्ट ज़्यादा थिक होना चाहिए वो लेफ्ट वेंट्रिकल है, और राइट वेंट्रिकल लेफ्ट के मुकाबले लेस थिकर है। ठीक, आई होप यू अंडरस्टैंड all of this. And one more thing before I want to conclude this is this: when your heart's chambers contract, when our heart's chambers contract, so contraction of the chambers of heart, contraction of chambers of heart is called सिस्टोल। इसको कहते हैं सिस्टोल। जब हमारे हार्ट के चैम्बर्स कॉन्ट्रैक्ट करते हैं उसको सिस्टोल कहते हैं, और जब हमारे हार्ट के चैम्बर्स रिलैक्सिंग पोजीशन में होंगे, रिलैक्सेशन ऑफ चैम्बर्स ऑफ हार्ट इज कॉल्ड डायस्टोल। उसको कहते हैं डायस्टोल, जब हमारे हार्ट के चैम्बर्स रिलैक्सिंग पोजीशन में होंगे। नाउ यू विल बी लिटिल बिट कंफ्यूज्ड बिकॉज आवर हार्ट हैज़ 4 चैम्बर्स। तो अगर आपके एट्रिया कॉन्ट्रैक्ट कर रहे हैं तो उसको एट्रियल सिस्टोल कहेंगे, तो दोनों एट्रिया इकट्ठे कॉन्ट्रैक्ट करेंगे। और अगर आपके वेंट्रिकल्स कॉन्ट्रैक्ट कर रहे हैं तो उसको हम वेंट्रिक्यूलर सिस्टोल कहेंगे, क्योंकि सिस्टोल का मतलब होता है कॉन्ट्रैक्ट करना। ओके, और जब फिर दोनों और एक टाइम आता है चारों चैम्बर्स हार्ट के कुछ सेकेंड्स तक चारों के चारों रिलैक्स पोजीशन में होते हैं, उस पोजीशन को, उस कॉन्फ़िगरेशन को हम कहते हैं जॉइंट डायस्टोल। जॉइंट डायस्टोल। ओके, इसके बारे में फर्दर डिटेल आप क्लास 11th में पढ़ोगे। यहाँ पे मैं उस साइकिल को, कार्डियक साइकिल को टच नहीं करना चाहता, बिकॉज दिस इज़ लेवल 10th, और यहाँ पे कार्डियक साइकिल के बारे में कुछ लिखा हुआ नहीं है, इसलिए आई डू नॉट वांट टू बर्डन यू बाय सेइंग ऑल दोज थिंग्स। बट रिमेंबर दिस: व्हेन आवर हार्ट्स चैम्बर्स कॉन्ट्रैक्ट, especially ventricles, because it is actually the ventricles which are pumping the blood and blood is moving away from heart. क्योंकि जब एट्रियम कॉन्ट्रैक्ट करते तो खून तो वेंट्रिकल्स की तरफ ही जा रहा है ना, खून हार्ट से दूर नहीं जा रहा है। लेकिन जब वेंट्रिकल्स कॉन्ट्रैक्ट करते खून हार्ट से दूर जाता है, बॉडी पार्ट्स की तरफ जाता है, ठीक है ना। तो इसीलिए खास तौर पे जब वेंट्रिकल्स हमारे कॉन्ट्रैक्ट करते हैं उस टाइम पे जो हमारे ब्लड का प्रेशर होगा, ब्लड प्रेशर ड्यूरिंग सिस्टोल। नाउ यू अंडरस्टूड मीनिंग सिस्टोल क्या है? जो हमारे खून का प्रेशर होगा ना, किस दौरान? सिस्टोल के दौरान। उस प्रेशर को कहते हैं सिस्टोलिक प्रेशर। द प्रेशर थ्रू विच आवर ब्लड मूव्स, or I can say the pressure which the blood exerts on the wall of a artery because blood pressure high arteries में ही होता है, इसलिए आर्टरी के वॉल थिक होते हैं ताकि वो उस हाई ब्लड प्रेशर को बर्दाश्त कर सके. इसीलिए ब्लड प्रेशर की बेटा डेफिनेशन हम ये बोलते हैं, द प्रेशर एक्सर्टेड बाय द ब्लड ऑन द वॉल्स ऑफ आर्टरीज इज कॉल्ड एज ब्लड प्रेशर. और इस ब्लड प्रेशर को मैं यहाँ पे डेफिनेशन लिखता हूँ, द प्रेशर. इसीलिए आप देखते हैं कि आर्टरी में जब ब्लड फ्लो होता है वो जर्क देता है आर्टरी को. यू कैन फील दैट जर्क ऑन योर पल्स बाय कीपिंग 2 फिंगर्स ऑन योर पल्स रिस्ट पोजिशन. आप वहाँ पे देख सकते हो कि अपनी रिस्ट पोजिशन पे वो 2 फिंगर्स रख के आपको महसूस होगा कि एक झटका जैसे लग रहा है आपकी 2 फिंगर्स को. वो क्यों? क्योंकि उस जगह पे आर्टरी सरफेस को टच करती है. तो जब वो प्रेशर ब्लड एक्सर्ट करता है ऑन द वॉल्स ऑफ आर्टरीज, the pressure exerted by the blood on the walls of arteries is called blood pressure. और ये ब्लड प्रेशर 2 तरीकों से मेजर किया जाता है. जब आपका सिस्टोल हो रहा होगा, यानी कि जब आपका हार्ट कॉन्ट्रैक्ट करता है, उस टाइम जो प्रेशर होगा वो सिस्टोलिक प्रेशर होगा. वो माना जाता है 120 mm Hg. Hg इज द सिंबल ऑफ मर्करी. सिमिलरली द ब्लड प्रेशर जब हमारा हार्ट का चैम्बर, खास तौर पे वेंट्रिकल्स, जब वो रिलैक्सिंग पोजीशन में होंगे, तो रिलैक्सिंग पोजीशन को क्या कहते हैं? डायस्टोल. द ब्लड प्रेशर ड्यूरिंग डायस्टोल इज कॉल्ड डायस्टोलिक प्रेशर. और वो डायस्टोलिक प्रेशर कितना होता है? वो होता है 80 mm Hg. 80 mm Hg. इसीलिए जब डॉक्टर ब्लड प्रेशर मेजर करता है वो लिखता है 120/80 इस तरह से. आई बात समझ? तो ये हम नॉर्मल कॉन्फ़िगरेशन देख रहे हैं यहाँ पे, वरना इसमें भी बहुत डिटेल्ड नॉलेज है कि विथ एज बच्चों में हार्ट बीट ज़्यादा होती है, ब्लड प्रेशर ज़्यादा होता है, इसलिए ओल्ड एज में भी ब्लड प्रेशर में चेंजेस आ जाती है. तो विथ एज नॉर्मल कॉन्फ़िगरेशन में चेंजेस हो जाती है, लेकिन आप यहाँ पे एक एवरेज फिगर पढ़ रहे हो. वो क्या है? 120/80, जो आपकी एनसीईआरटी में मेंशन है. इसीलिए इसको एज इट इज़ देखना है. तो ब्लड प्रेशर ड्यूरिंग सिस्टोल विल बी कॉल्ड एज सिस्टोलिक प्रेशर. एंड जब हमारे हार्ट के चैम्बर रिलैक्सिंग पोजीशन में होंगे, उस वक्त जो हमारा खून का प्रेशर होगा उसको डायस्टोलिक कहते हैं. तो सिस्टोलिक को 120 mm माना जाता है और डायस्टोलिक को 80 mm. तो अगर मैं नॉर्मल फिगर के हिसाब से देखूं तो किसी का सिस्टोलिक अगर 120 से कम है या डायस्टोलिक 80 से ज़्यादा या कम है या 120 से ज़्यादा या कम है, तो वो नॉर्मल फिगर में नहीं माना जाता. और यहाँ पे ये बात मैं आपको नोट करवा रहा हूँ कि ये डॉक्टर का ही काम है वो देखे कि ब्लड प्रेशर इसका नॉर्मल है या नहीं. ये आप नहीं देख सकते बिकॉज दिस इज समथिंग रिलेटेड विद द क्लिनिकल एग्जामिनेशन. ओके, ओनली अ डॉक्टर कैन अंडरस्टैंड दिस कि इस किसी बंदे का किस एज ग्रुप के हिसाब से जो ब्लड प्रेशर मेजर होता है या डॉक्टर मेजर करता है वो नॉर्मल है या एबनॉर्मल है, वो हम डिसाइड नहीं कर सकते. वी आर जस्ट अंडरस्टैंडिंग द प्रोसेस राइट नाउ, अ नॉर्मल प्रोसेस. Okay, otherwise there are so many variations over here with respect to blood pressure. Okay, so I hope the structure of heart as well as different branches as well as double circulation through this video will be clear. Please watch this video. If not at once, divide it into parts, but please watch it so that you should be able to understand all of the details. And this is very important topic with respect to transportation in human beings. Okay, so see you in the lecture. Till then, bye bye.